Welcome into a Donno drop here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Can also be heard on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. Huge shout out and thank you as always to Alfredo, Simon, and Chris for sharing the feed with us. And sitting in with me today, he's sitting in the Troy Stradford chair. So it's a big chair to fill. But Troy Stradford has nothing on Hussam Patel. Hussam, it's been a while, my friend. How you been?
Nah, don't. Let's not talk about Troy like that. No, I'm doing pretty good. Troy's awesome. Troy's amazing. He has years and years of breadth of football knowledge on me. I only got like maybe 2 or 3 years on him.
Well, you're younger than him. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
And
My cooler.
Let's move on. So, the thing I wanted to dive into today, and you guys may actually be surprised by my take on this situation. So, we found out yesterday was the worst kept secret in the NFL. Derek Carr was officially released by the Las Vegas Raiders. So Derek Carr is a free agent now. The longtime Las Vegas, formerly Oakland Raiders quarterback is on the market. And one of the teams getting brought up by the national media, not so much the local media who actually covers and understands the team, but the national media is bringing up Derek Carr to the Miami Dolphins. This is what Pete Schrager from NFL Network had to say, and I enjoy Good Morning Football. He's not necessarily my favorite person on that show, but I do enjoy Good Morning Football. He said, quote, to Schrager, "If I am the Miami Dolphins, I don't know what the situation is with Tua, and I'm looking at Derek Carr." He said, "Tua is in the final year of his contract, and he hasn't gotten that big deal yet. If I'm the Dolphins, I'm so close. My roster is so loaded. You bring in Derek Carr to Miami. Are they not one of the favorites in the AFC?" So, Hussam, for the last 24 hours, I've been doing mental gymnastics, like trying to talk myself
Jumping through hoops. You're running over the obstacle course. Are you?
I'm like Will Ferrell in Old School. Are you old enough to remember that movie where they had
No,
like
I'm
oh
not.
my God. Oh, you're just such a child.
Or are you like him in Talladega Nights, just running around in circles? There
Yeah,
you
okay. I
go.
could give you that.
There you go.
So I'm trying to talk myself into Derek Carr, and this is actually pretty well said here by Johnny B. Good. He's a discount Tannehill. But then like the thing is, yeah, well, and not even really a discount because he probably cost you about 35 million. Now I know that he was just released from a 40 million per season deal, but I think the market for Derek Carr, wherever he winds up, he's trying to get like 35 million per season, and that's a huge problem because on the one hand, you guys know I'm really skeptical about Tua's health. I'm far less skeptical about Tua actually on the field because last season we saw it in the Mike McDaniel offense and distributing the football to weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The Dolphins offense looked sublime when Tua was on the field healthy last season, okay? But obviously a guy who just missed 6 games this past year with concussion and has not gotten through a fully healthy season in any of the last 5 years going into his time at Alabama. It's just a gamble. It's a gamble to ride forward with Tua as your franchise quarterback. But then at the same time, if you're talking about replacing Tua with a 31, soon to be 32-year-old Derek Carr, who's not really accomplished a whole lot of anything in the NFL to this point and is going to cost you 35 plus million per season. I don't think this is the answer. Like, I'd hate to see him wind up on the Jets and make the Jets better because that could very well be where Derek Carr winds up. But then at the same time, I don't want the Dolphins to sign him just to keep him off the New York Jets. Like, for as worried as I am, Hussam, about Tua's long-term health, I'm not convinced Tua's the answer, but I don't think spending $35 million a season on Derek Carr is the answer either. I think the Dolphins are probably better off rolling with what they have.
Who says the Dolphins are going to be paying him $35 million a year? He's a free agent. I don't think his contract goes with him unless he was technically traded. Now I get it, Derek Carr. I mean, he's been a franchise quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders for the last 7 years. Had them in the playoffs. I'm not so familiar if he won a playoff game or
I think
not.
he did win one, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe one. I mean, he has that over Tua, right? Playoff experience, has a playoff win. Starting quarterback for the last 7 years, strong arm, has played with guys like Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Devontae Adams. He had Mac Hollins on his teams. He had a true running back one in Josh Jacobs and a pretty good offensive line. the last couple years, save for last year. And even then, with those type of weapons, a decent enough defense, a pretty dang good offensive line, he did the same exact thing as Tua did
Yeah, and let's not forget,
the years before,
it's
right?
like not only did the Raiders bench him, but they banished him from the team. It's like they didn't want to have anything to do with that
I mean,
guy.
didn't Tua also get benched his rookie year? He was somewhat banished under flow up until
Yeah, fair,
he needed him.
fair.
Um, I do think that, if the Dolphins were to get Carr, I mean, it could be a smart play. If they do, you get a veteran quarterback who can play in an instant notice if Tua's hurt. Like if you're truly, truly skeptical of Tua's health, why not take a shot at Derek Carr? But
Yeah,
I'm not paying him 11, $12 million for 1 year on a fully guaranteed contract. We saw what that was like with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean,
right.
why not allocate those resources to a linebacker, which you need, maybe a decent cornerback, an offensive line, and I mean, the Dolphins need offensive line help, right? I mean, Derek Carr also needs. If Derek Carr were the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins and Tua wasn't the option, he would need a starting offensive line. I mean, you
Yeah,
saw
Derek Carr
Teddy.
wouldn't want to come down here only to get killed. He
Eg
wouldn't want that.
e exactly, and, the Dolphins' offensive line hasn't been good at all, and, I mean, Tua's been playing like that. Imagine just an improved offensive line and improved right tackle, maybe an improved left guard over Liam Eichenberg. You get solid veteran options or you pay big bucks for a right tackle, which I think the Dolphins will be doing this free agency, and, I mean, you're set. You don't need to pay for a backup quarterback. I get it, everyone saw what Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson did. I mean, heck, just look at the recent game Skylar Thompson played with Mike McDaniel as the play caller. Almost beat the
Yeah.
dang Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in a wild card playoff game.
Now, I definitely don't want to see Bridgewater back here. And like on a personal level, I like him. He's a South Florida guy. I was really happy when the Dolphins signed him, but it's like, what are you paying this guy for when he's on the injury report just as often as your injury prone starting quarterback is? Like, to me, like the number one thing that I'm going to look for in a backup quarterback is get me somebody who's somewhat solid. And I thought Bridgewater would be somewhat solid, but also get me someone who's going to be available. Because if your backup quarterback is on the injury report as often as Tua is, that's not solving that Tua problem whatsoever. So get Bridgewater the heck off my team.
I mean, I think there was a report internally and within our network. I really don't think Teddy wanted to play at all. To be honest, I mean, you can look in his press conferences as well, just his body language. I really don't think he wanted to play football at all. That's just my perspective on it. That's just my opinion. Um, why not get a guy that wants to play, that can challenge Tua? I mean,
Yeah,
Derek Carr obviously sounds like a better option, but what's the financials with this? I mean, a
that's the
team
thing.
like maybe Washington can use him, can pay big bucks. I mean, they need a quarterback. They have an offensive line. They have a run game. They have wide receivers. They have a pretty good defense and a signal caller in Ron Rivera. That's an option. Maybe potentially, if Lamar Jackson is dealt, I mean, that possibly could be an opportunity. I mean, Derek Carr, you can go to the Ravens and, I mean, heck, maybe the 49ers.
Now,
Who the heck knows?
Lamar Jackson, I would take down here. By the way,
I know a lot of people would, and
yeah,
Miami is on his list to be here.
yeah, yeah,
Miami is on his list to be here. But I mean, maybe Derek Carr in San Francisco.
yeah.
Brock
That would
Purdy,
make
he's hurt.
sense. Yeah,
Brock Purdy, he's hurt. He's going to be out for at least the next 6 to 8 months. Trey Lance, what do you have in him? I mean, he's thrown less than maybe 100 passes in the NFL. He's gotten hurt twice. It's going to be his third or fourth season in the NFL. And Jimmy G, there's the dance with him. I mean, maybe Derek Carr goes to the 49ers. Maybe the
yeah.
49ers pull a Stafford thing and get back to the Super Bowl with Derek Carr. I mean, who knows?
Oh, I like the way Hussam Patel thinks. So, what are you going to be covering this offseason, Hussam? Because I know you're really into draft and combine and everything. Are you gearing up for that? Is there anything that's on your radar in the next few weeks?
Well, if my if my work schedule permits, hopefully I hope to have a couple of prospects on, a couple of media guys within the NFL draft community. We'll be talking about some of the prospects and some fits for the Miami Dolphins leading up to the NFL draft.
Awesome. Well, I like it. And I want to get into a little bit more of this quarterback stuff. And also, officially now, the Dolphins officially have a defensive coordinator. We've known this for some time that Vic Fangio is coming in. A couple weeks ago, we had our doubts that Fangio would be in, but he is definitely in. You know what I never have my doubts about? Prize Picks, the Prize Picks mobile app, prizepicks.com. Guys, it makes sports so much more fun when you're watching NBA and NHL games tonight. I know we're sad that football is on a little hiatus, although we will have USFL and XFL coming up
I
soon.
wonder if the USFL and XFL props will be on Prize Picks.
I'm pretty sure, I don't recall last season if the USFL was on there, but I feel like Prize Picks would have it. And so I'm going to be into that. I think I watched all of like one USFL game last year, but if I can get some action on it, I will be more into it. And Prize Picks, guys, not only is it fun, it's super easy, and it's super legal. It's completely legal in the state of Florida. PrizePicks.com, Prize Picks mobile app. When you make your first deposit, make sure you use our code 5. That's FIVE. They're going to ask you if you have a promo code. You do have a promo code, FIVE, and they're going to double your first deposit up to $100. So you deposit $100, they give you $100 free to play with. It's a lot of fun. You simply select 2, 3, 4, 5 players, however many you want. Just got to be more than one, and you predict if they're going to go over or under their stat projections. And if you get all your selections correct, you're getting real money, which you can withdraw instantly. Like there's no red tape, nothing like that. It's not an offshore thing. It's completely legal. And it makes these games a lot more fun. Let's say you're not that into hockey or you're not that into basketball. If you got some players on your Prize Picks selections, you're going to be more involved on those games tonight. So prizepicks.com or download the free Prize Picks mobile app. Use our code 5. That's FIVE. And by the way, if you're making selections on those NBA and NHL games, you can go cross sport. Like you can have 2 hockey players, 2 basketball players on the same selection. That makes it even more fun. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy made easy. Alex Donno alongside our special guest Hussam Patel here on a Donno Drop, which you can also hear on the 3 yards per carry audio channel on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. So Hussam, again, one of the reasons why I was so torn on the Derek Carr thing, and I've been like trying to talk myself into maybe the Dolphins should make a run on Derek Carr. A big reason for that is a couple of years ago when we were talking Dolphins football, we were talking about a rebuild. We're not using that word anymore, right? I mean, this team has invested resources when it comes to personnel and in coaches, where this team is trying to win now, right? You don't go out and make the deals that the Dolphins made for Tyreek Hill last offseason, for Bradley Chubb during the season, signing Teron Armstead. You don't go out there and make deals like that if you're not trying to win now. So my concern and my fear that a concussion-prone quarterback could be the difference between winning now or not, because guess what? Had Tua not had concussions last year, Miami Dolphins might have made a deep playoff run. I mean, you mentioned it, Hussam. They almost beat the Bills in freaking Buffalo in the playoffs with Skylar Thompson, quarterback 3 as their starting quarterback. Had a healthy Tua played in that game, we could be we could have just had a parade down here last week, but it didn't, or earlier this week, I should say, but it didn't play out that way. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so torn.
So look, where Tua messed up is that he got concussions on national games. If he simply had the forethought of getting his 2 concussions on regular Sunday games like Kenny Pickett, he wouldn't have to medically retire, and everybody in the media wouldn't have to be talking about him. But I mean, Donald, let me ask you this. Almost every single quarterback in the NFL has had some type of injury. Has Tua missed games? Yes.
Yeah.
Mahomes, injury. I mean, he got lit up with a shot of Toradol and won.
Didn't miss any games, though.
MVP. But I mean, Mahomes is a different type of athlete. Yeah, Herbert, with his body, he's a different type of athlete as well. I mean, Joe Burrow, he had an ACL, he had an ACL tear here his rookie year. I mean, were people dogging on him then? I mean, he lost sometimes consciousness, had a blank mind when he got hit as well, and doesn't remember games. Why aren't people talking about that? But I mean, Alex, let me ask you this. You covered the Dolphins way back when I was in middle school and high school, right?
Wow, thank
Ryan
you
Tannehill. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback. And for 7 years, he was the definition of an average NFL starting quarterback. At least that's what Omar Kelly says. Half the fan base wanted him replaced. Half of them wanted to invest like how the Dolphins have invested in Tua. I was part of the latter, right? I mean, but what Tannehill hasn't done half of what Tua has done in his 3 years.
Yeah, it's fair.
So Tua right now, it looks like he's a top 10 quarterback, but now you're having discussions about we need a quarterback like Burrow, we need a quarterback like Herbert, we need a cornerback like Josh Allen, we need a quarterback like Justin Herbert. I don't think people realize that those guys are legit unicorns in the NFL. You don't find unicorns every single year at all. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all, Alex.
Yeah. Well, and it obviously hasn't worked here because, Tua in the sample size where he's been at his best has been the best quarterback we've had here since number 13, who, by the way, has been retired for about 23 years. So that's
he's
how
been
hard.
Retired as long as I've been alive. But I mean, just the Derek Carr speculation.
Yeah.
It's as if Miami's even interested or has the chance. I'm sure quarterback needy teams will throw money at him, and he'll take whoever pays the most money and has a chance to start. I just don't think he'll start in Miami.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like again, I don't expect Derek Carr to ever win a Super Bowl. It's if he gets into a perfect situation, he can, because like if Carr wins a Super Bowl someday, he wouldn't be the worst quarterback to ever do it, right? I mean, Trent Dilfer has a freaking ring. Brad Johnson had a ring with Tampa. I didn't ever think Joe Flacco was that good, but he had a good little run there and was on an amazing Ravens team that won a Super Bowl. Eli Manning probably better than Derek Carr's ever been at that point.
I mean,
but,
look, Donno,
Eli got carried a little bit.
I think everybody is fixated on the sense that the Buccaneers, they traded to get a good quarterback in Tom Brady. They won a Super Bowl. But what about now, after the last year or so? Where are the Bucs now after Brady retired? The Rams went after Matthew Stafford. They won a Super Bowl. Where are they now financially? Where are they now personnel-wise?
Yeah.
I mean, there was rumors Aaron Donald was going to retire. Jalen Ramsey, where is he going to go? Sean McVay, will he coach in the next 2 seasons? I get wanting to trade and win a Super Bowl ASAP, but we're about the long-term franchise outlook.
Yeah.
Okay, you go deep in the playoffs, right? Derek Carr does fantastic, but you win one playoff game, now what?
Yeah. Then was it worth it if you're throwing stupid money at the guy? Now, I do think as far as the Dolphins putting themselves in position to win right away, I love everything about the Fangio hire. And I don't care how much they have to pay Vic Fangio. It's Stephen Ross's money. It's not my money. Make him the highest paid coordinator in the league. If you're paying him $4.5 million as reported, I'm good with that. He's finally been officially announced. But something like this, when you talk about, helping solidify that defense, hopefully the Dolphins, like you mentioned, invest again in the offensive line this offseason because they could still use more help there. They're doing everything humanly possible. They are doing everything humanly possible to put themselves in position to win a Super Bowl. And, sometimes coaching can be a little bit overrated. But in the case of Fangio, this guy has had, a top 10, if not better, defense everywhere he's been. Every year he's coached defenses. I do believe this guy is a difference maker on the sidelines.
I mean, I think so too. I mean, he was signed not only to help the Eagles, but the Eagles offense for the Super Bowl for the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Eagles offense looked pretty freaking electric, but not a lot of people know that a lot of Vic Fangio's success comes originally from his time in Baltimore under Rex Ryan as a defensive assistant and linebackers coach. And then he took Rex Ryan's philosophy, put his spin on it, and then his success came with the 49ers and Bears. Now, everyone has talked about his split safety cells, 2 high safeties, allows the defense to shift post-snap and, change the look for the quarterback. Playing defense is a mental game. And Vic Fangio, he uses chess pieces to confuse quarterbacks. I mean, it limits big plays and it makes opposing offenses put consistent long drives. And he's not going to attack you. He's not going to blitz you so much. He's going to wait for you to make a mistake, to be confused, and bam, he's going to get you right then and there. I mean, it entices the offense to, run the ball because you have light boxes, but it won't allow you for explosive gains. It won't allow you to score a lot, which was the Dolphins' problem last year and even the year before. The Dolphins last season, they allowed 45 touchdowns, which was the eighth most in the NFL.
I didn't
Now they
realize
had a
that.
top 10 offense, passing and rushing wise. Rushing, they were middle of the pack. Passing, they were top five. Defensively, run defense, I mean, they were great. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Pass wise, even with the injuries along the secondary, they were just awful. And that's where most of the touchdowns came in. Honestly, this is more so to help the secondary and have the pass rush get home. You don't need star-studded players on the secondary, but fortunately, the Dolphins do in Xavier Howard and Javon Holland, and hopefully when Brandon Jones comes back. I mean, this type of defense that they play, it's primarily zone coverage, and it helps younger, inexperienced cornerbacks like a Noah Benogany or maybe a draft pick if the Dolphins draft somebody, settle into the NFL, understand zone coverage and play a little bit of man coverage and understand how quarterbacks are thinking.
Well, that's a good place to put a bow on it. I think that's a great breakdown. Where can people, Hussam, where can people see you, hear you, or read you next? Do you have any plans for the rest of the week or the upcoming days?
It's all here at 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you guys catch me at the Scouting Combine. Hopefully, I'm able to do some draft stuff again if my work and sleep schedule.
I got to get you out there to Indianapolis. If we can find a sponsor to get Hussam out there to Indy for the combine, because I wanna see you out there racing Rich Eisen in the 40. I want to get your ass out there.
You want to get my ass out there? I think we need to ask Ethan, number one, what he's going to do to get both of us out there.
Yes, because I'd like to go as well, for sure. I'd love to
I
go
know
to
they
the
had
combine.
that. Indy has a lot of really good spots.
I've never been there, actually. I've never been to Indy.
I haven't either. I honestly haven't either.
How do you know about their good spots then?
I'm just looking on Twitter, on NFL Draft Twitter, talking about just some of the restaurants they ate at, some of the brew houses and stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
they got a famous steakhouse there, St.
yeah,
Elmo's,
they
I
do.
think. Yeah, I'd love to check that out. I feel like if we can get Ethan to put in a good word for us, it can be one of those things where we can walk in, no reservation. They're like, oh, the 5 Reasons, guys, we got the best table in the house for you. Come on down. We don't even we're going to be taking a table from I don't know who's on the NFL network. I already mentioned Eisen. We're going to take a table from Ian Rappaport. They're going to tell him, get your ass up. This is Hussam's table. Let's go.
Last month was the first time I tried ribeye.
Oh, I love ribeye.
It was really good, man. It was really good.
I love a good ribeye. I love a good New York strip. Any of the cuts with a lot of the fat. They're just bet
I'm not a big fan of filet mignon.
Neither am I. Thank you.
Oh
I
my
think it's
God.
I don't know. People go crazy for this filet mignon. It's I'll eat it, but if I'm at a steakhouse,
it's big and it's
yeah,
where's all the flavor at?
I don't know. It's it's one of those things where I'll eat filet mignon happily, if the situation calls for it. But if I'm at a steakhouse and I can eat a ribeye or a New York steak, I'm not ordering the filet. That's going to be my third or fourth choice at best.
Me
It's not what I'm going to order.
Me personally, though, for my steak, what I liked when I tried it, it was wood fired with cedar pine and some other type of wood, and it was smoked.
Amen.
There.
Oh
my God. Oh my God, dude. I'm salivating over it. And hopefully Vic Fangio's defense makes me salivate the same way. And I want to mention this, Donno. Everyone last season was talking about continuity of the defense. Well, it didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
Everybody now is talking about the continuity of the offense. What happens if the offense is worse compared to last season and the defense gets better?
Well, the problem there is then you'd have to blame the head coach, because the head coach is the offensive mastermind and the play caller. You can't it's easy to, and I'm not saying this to defend the guy, but it's easy to scapegoat Josh Boyer. And I never thought they should have retained Boyer in the first place. I thought that your head coach should be allowed to go out and get his own guy. I thought they probably forced Boyer a little bit on McDaniel. But after the defensive season the Dolphins had, you could say, oh, blame the defensive coordinator. Let's get a new one. I think they got a great one. But then if the offense regresses, doesn't the buck stop with the head coach because he's the play designer and the play caller?
Look at Tony 2 times. Sam has an impressive head
You
of
do.
cat. I started using a Pantene conditioner
I
on my
knew
hair
it.
to make it a little bit
I knew it.
more
That is
fluffy.
conditioned hair if I've ever seen it.
It is conditioned hair, but talking about the offense, I think what we saw last season from the offense, especially towards the second half of the season, I think Mike McDaniel was just way too aggressive. And I think
Yeah.
the next step for Mike McDaniel as a play caller and two as a quarterback, taking the easy shots, taking the easy throws. I mean, we saw Mahomes talk about it in his interviews pre-Super Bowl. He didn't want to be the hero, didn't want to be so aggressive, just taking what the defense is giving him, just get those yardage out of the play. Like, I mean, you make the defense tired at that point. I mean, the Dolphins didn't have a lot of third downs that they had to play just because of how less they were on the field. They didn't even
Right.
dominate the time of possession in most of their games either. It was, fast pace, high scoring, score as much as you can, but it was more so like a boomer bust type of offense. You can't have that, especially in the playoffs. Like if you're busting all over the field, innuendo not intended for sure. Um, you're not going to get very far against these really, really good teams. Like you need to sustain drives, kind of like how the Chiefs and the Eagles and Joe Burrow and the Bengals have done.
Oh man! All right, so I want to send a huge shout out and thank you again to Hussam, to everyone who took time to watch this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. Thank you, and make sure to subscribe because obviously 3 Yards Per Carry, the main show with Alf, Simon, and Chris. It's the top Dolphins podcast on planet Earth. I'm pretty sure there's stats to back that up, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's the top Dolphins podcast on planet Earth. Make sure you guys check out Prize Picks. prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks mobile app with our code 5 FIVE. For Hussam Patel, I'm Alex Donno. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I think Troy is going to be back. He was in New Jersey. I don't know if he's taking care of like mafia business or something up there, because the only thing I know about New Jersey is from The Sopranos. That is where Troy is from. He's a made guy, this Troy Stratford. So I don't know if he was like taking care of any business up there, seeing some family up there. I think he's going to be back tomorrow. If not, maybe I'll bug Hussam or Lewis again if you're available. So we will talk to you guys next time on another Donno drop here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.